Yep.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ohio political news to the rescue here tonight. Good to see everybody. Another award-winning show. Yeah, that is not snow. That's colored snow. Don't go where the Eskimos go. You heard of that. Don't eat any yellow snow where the Eskimos go. You ever hear that? That was kind of funny at one time. I remember that. Brian, what's happening? How you doing?
Hello. Good to see everyone.
And Jonathan is with us here tonight. Yep, very good. So tonight, we got a couple guests coming on. So we'll definitely be talking with Faith Andrews with Truth Badger News. And Faith, we're talking a lot of precinct strategy, which I think Jonathan has something to say about, and we'll talk with her on that. And we'll get into some property tax stuff with her as well. And at 8 o'clock, we're talking data centers here in Ohio, and these things are popping up everywhere. We're like number 5 in the states, like the 5th state with the most data centers, and we've got some big ones. But the implications with those things is staggering. So I want to we'll be talking about that coming up here in a minute. But everybody have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I had a great Thanksgiving. Thank you, Joe. I hope all of our viewers had a great Thanksgiving, able to spend with their family. And these data centers sort of bother me. I'm just wondering if it's going to be a net plus for the citizens of Ohio.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk with the data centers, and we'll get into all of it, but there's a lot of talk where it's like profits over citizens. And
that's always the case.
Yeah, especially when the politicians get involved. So there is so much energy consumption they use, and so much water that they use, and they're getting such big tax breaks. It's like, we're talking about Google, we're talking about Amazon, Facebook, Meta, TikTok. We're talking about some really big multi-billion-dollar industries. And, they're flocking to Ohio because we're going to give them a lot of tax incentives to do so. But so are the other states. But what is it? What are the implications on that as far as the regular citizens?
We're going to ask the basic question. What's the upside for the citizens?
Exactly.
Are we talking about a huge number of jobs, high-paying jobs, or are they just going to use the electricity and buy up farmland and jack up the land values?
No, that's exactly what it seems like. There are not a lot of
use
jobs.
Our water.
You're going to use a lot of water,
Correct,
lots of water, and the jobs are like pitiful. The average data center is like 30 to 50 people employed there. 30 to 50. So we're not talking about some steel mill where you're going to have thousands and thousands of people with some really nice paying jobs and everything, which you could build a whole city around. You're not going to have that with the data centers. That's the problem, though, with the data centers. It sounds like they're setting up these big AI data centers, all right? So Meta is setting one up in New Albany, Ohio, and it's going to be the biggest one in the world, all right? It's going to be a 1 gigabyte, and the amount of electricity that they're going to use at that data center in New Albany, which it should be completed next year, is the equivalent of 850,000 homes. 850,000 homes. Do you believe that?
Yeah, we're probably all going to be consigned to reading our books by candlelight, and the electricity is going to be taken from the residential and given over to the commercial AI centers.
That's what those smart meters
Jonathan's
are
right
intended
about
for.
the water.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon, Jonathan?
Sorry to interrupt. That's what those smart meters are intended for. As soon as we give the rights and the authorization and control of our energy consumption to the energy companies, and then we already know the energy companies are constantly bidding. They're selling off. It's like an auction. That's why those energy resellers exist. You can buy from co-ops that purchase mass amounts of energy, and the highest bidder wins. In this equation, you have tax incentives that allow these megacorps to come in, buy land for cheap, get tax rebates, tax incentives, and they're going to outbid everybody else, and they're going to get preferential treatment for electricity because they can afford to use our money to buy up the electric grid. And then as soon as we're told, oh, there's very little power, and in order to try and thwart a brownout and try and control energy consumption, we're gonna scale back your use using your smart meter, which allows them to control when and if you can use power in your house. That smart meter pretty soon is going to flip and start turning off devices, not allowing you to use certain things during certain times of the day, so that the higher paying AI facilities, these data centers, can gobble up the power. I'm one of those people that's been saying, I agree with the sentiment that started a long time ago, that they should be producing their own power. And it really is not that complicated. There are these rollout plans that they've existed for over a couple of decades now, where they can bring in something that's basically the size of a tractor trailer, a semi-truck, that produces nuclear power. Let them buy the thing and run the equipment that powers themselves, instead of pulling off of our grid and subtracting from we the people's ability to live our lives.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%, Jonathan. I agree 100% with that, Jonathan. Yep.
Well, we're gonna we'll dive into that with our guest Melissa Wade. She's going to come in at 8 o'clock, and we'll go into all of the data center stuff. I want to put also this up because we have a big event coming, and it's worth talking about. Okay, it's actually a week from tomorrow, and this is it here. And it's being put on by Ohio Political News and Ohio Roundtable. So it's the Ohio Tax Panel. Get your questions answered here, property taxes. It's a week from tomorrow. We got John Pleshnik, Tom Zawistowski, Brian Massey. Who's Brian Massey? Brian Massey will be there.
Ooh, let that guy in. Wow.
Thirsty
Oh,
Cowboy.
I've heard good things about that Brian Massey guy.
Don't believe everything you hear.
So Thirsty Cowboy right there in Medina is really easy to get to. I was amazed. I was there last month for the first time. And so easy to get to, right off I-71, and you're there. And it's a nice facility, Thirsty Cowboy. You know, I was thinking I'd have to be wearing cowboy boots and all this stuff to go in there, but it's just part of one of those malls.
The shopping center.
Shopping center, that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Hey, Joe, can I make an announcement?
go ahead.
Yours truly was invited by the Ohio Commissioners Association to speak in Columbus as a proponent for the abolishment of the Ohio property taxes.
You'll have to.
So on Thursday, Leonard and I are going down there. I was hoping to be able to live stream it, but I don't know if they're going to let me live stream it. But I definitely am going to bring the camera to record it, so that we can record my speech and Leonard's speech when we talk about property taxes. Right. So I thought that was a good opportunity to speak to a lot of influential people, a lot of commissioners from all 88 counties in Columbus.
All right. We just got the phone call. George Satari will be joining us here in just a few minutes. But, Brian, you're getting about and doing everything with these property taxes, and it's pretty amazing. But what do you want to say about this event? Anything you want to say? Pleshnik is just, well, he rocks the crowd. He really does.
Oh, really, Commissioner Pleshnik. Let's remember, he was the very first commissioner in the state of Ohio to sign our petition, and we've been going around the state of Ohio for I don't know how many months now, but he has joined us on several occasions to speak to the crowd. And his basic thrust is, how many views has his last video shown?
Yeah, he got about 1 million.
About 1 million views? I mean, and where he's basically saying that the rent and the taxes are too damn high. So
right, and that struck a good chord with a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He does a very nice job.
Well, yeah, he did get 1 million views. I mean, we've never had anything like that since. Okay, so so it's not like we're always getting 1 million views, and that was on Facebook.
And Tom C is another great speaker. He's been an advocate for freedom and liberty for I don't know, maybe going on 20 years now with this We the People convention. So he's been very influential, and he does a podcast every Saturday, and people can watch it on We the People convention.
Yeah, he's real popular. Also, Chris Galloway is supposed to be there too, correct?
Yes. We did invite Lake County Auditor Chris Galloway, and he has gladly accepted that invitation, and we look forward to hear what he has to say. And we've our committee has talked to Auditor Galloway, for months now, and he's been very forthcoming and really very helpful. He agrees with more things that we're saying than not. So I look forward to what he has to say. So that and by the way, we're going to live stream it, right, Joe? Is Kent going to be down there to live stream it?
Yeah, I got to talk to Kent to make sure. If he does not make it, we will.
He can drop it off
have
with
somebody
me.
else
and
live stream it.
Yeah, we'll take it down and live stream it.
Yeah, but we will be live streaming the event. It's just whether or not Kent can make it or not, I'm not sure yet. But we will be live streaming it, absolutely. All right. Okay, a couple of things here. One is I'm going to test. We do this show live. Okay, a couple of things I want to talk about, and then we're going to have our guest. We're going to be bringing Faith Andrews on. But did you know that there's no more pennies? Did you know they got rid of the pennies, guys? The penny is no longer
I think it was
currency.
costing 2 or 3 cents to produce a penny, so they thought it has outlived its usefulness. So what happens? Do they round up now, or they're not going to round down as far as the retailers? So they'll probably round up on their pricing.
Probably. They'll probably round up. Yeah. So I was reading this here. The last penny was minted on November 12th. We've had the penny for 232 years. I hate to see it go. It's so sad. But it costs almost 4 times the amount of money that it's worth. So it costs almost 4 cents to make 1 cent. So thank God. Just like the government to say, no, we can't get rid of the penny. They've got sentimental reasons. We're not getting rid of it. Who cares if it's going to cost us 4 times the amount of money?
Well, what do we give people for their thoughts now? Nickel for your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a nickel for your thoughts with
It's
inflation.
nickel,
Could be $1 too.
It's inflation. You're right.
It's
That's a
inflation.
good question.
I'll give you a nickel for your thoughts. Just doesn't have quite the ring to it. It's a penny for your thoughts.
Hey, someone with Thanksgiving here. I want to get you two thoughts on this. So, the 5 biggest food items for Thanksgiving. Number 1 is turkey. Number 2 is stuffing. Number 3 is mashed potatoes. Number 4, green bean casserole. What do you think number 5 is? Any idea? What do you think, Jonathan? What would number 5 be for Thanksgiving?
What is that? That cranberry sauce stuff?
Could be.
I could take it or leave it. But I'm guessing that's it because it seems to be a staple. And you got stuffing. Did you say stuffing?
Stuffing
you got turkey,
was number 2. Yeah.
Mashed potatoes.
Right.
Gravy. I think that green bean casserole.
Yeah, that was
everyone
number 4.
complains about it. I actually don't much mind it, but I will say the odd thing is I haven't had it in probably over a decade. The last time I can't remember the last time I ate any green bean casserole. As much as people like to complain about it, I actually think I kind of like it.
Yeah. What do you think number 5 is?
Next,
you think it'd be the cranberries or what? What would number 5 be?
I think number 5 that cranberry relish, whatever that stuff is.
The cranberry stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. What about you,
Probably.
Brian? What would you have?
Well, my number 5 is Brussels sprouts, but I don't think that's really the answer. So
Ooh.
we'll have to go with what Jonathan's saying. Probably the cranberries.
Yeah, it's definitely not Brussels sprouts. My gosh,
I like Brussels sprouts.
how could you even
Roasted?
think of that?
I do too.
Bacon.
They said it's pumpkin pie.
Oh,
Pumpkin pie.
yeah.
Got to put that.
But that's the dessert, though.
Yeah, that was misleading, Joe.
That was misleading. Oh well, what can you say? And last thing before we get to our guests,
Did I ask the question though? Did you guys have any of that this Thanksgiving? I didn't. I didn't
had
have
all
any
of
of the. I didn't have any of the 5.
you didn't. Oh my gosh.
No,
I didn't
no
miss any of
turkey.
the
Well, I sorry, we had mashed potatoes. That was it, but no
But no turkey. Huh?
and cream. No
Wow.
turkey. No,
Would you eat ham instead? What'd you eat?
no. I had a brisket.
Ooh.
I
was
really
getting
does
ready
that
to
make
be
me
upset.
un-American? I'm not
No, it's-
un-American. I hope.
I think brisket always works. Brisket's good any time.
Yeah.
Yeah, pumpkin pie is number 5. All right, so somebody's in the chat. If you're in the chat and you want to chat at all throughout this conversation, please do that, and we will just zoom right in and try to pay very close attention to your question. Hey, last thing I want to talk about here is the gubernatorial candidates. So Alex Triantafilou, who is the chairman for the Ohio Republican Party, on social media post said that he expects Ramaswamy's momentum to increase following Tim Ryan's exiting. He said Tim Ryan wisely got out of the race for Ohio governor, and he's expecting an even bigger flood of support for Ramaswamy. Triantafilou wrote, "My phone hasn't stopped ringing, and the campaign funds," he says, one word, wowza. He said the future is looking bright! Exclamation point. So, any thoughts on that real quick? I know we've talked about it before, but with Tim Ryan, first of all, jumping out of the gubernatorial race, he must have been afraid. And I'll tell you one thing, Ramaswamy does have a boatload of cash reserve, just a boatload of it.
But do you want me to tell you the unpleasant truths or the comforting lies? I mean, you want me to just go along with let's go with Vivek, or I'm not impressed. I've heard him talk, and he's all about abolishing the income tax for the rich, and he doesn't want anything to do with the property taxes. So I'm not voting for him.
Not a big fan of Ramaswamy.
No, not a big fan. I'll support Heather Hill from the Libertarian Party first, because she at least is supporting the issue that we're real big on. Now we'll see when. Probably not, but you asked me about Vivek, and that's my truthful answer.
Well, that's the one thing I did want to ask you guys real quick, and that is when it comes to Vivek, what is your thoughts on him? I know he talks a lot. He talks great, but is it just talk, or is there some substance? This guy, I'm anticipating that he's going to be this super activist type governor, who something similar to a Ron DeSantis type guy. That's who I'm envisioning. But
I'd ask if he's a freedom and liberty guy. That's the if I had a chance to ask him a question, I'm saying, do you believe in freedom and liberty, and how do you assure freedom and liberty for the citizens of the state of Ohio if you are supporting property taxes? I'd like to hear that answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jonathan, any thoughts before we bring our guest on?
A lot of thoughts. I've so far not issued much of any public comment on Vivek Ramaswamy. It turns out, just by strange happenstance, that he and I, during part of what I understand to be his professional career, were 1 degree of separation. He worked very closely with people whose intellectual property I've acquired, put it that way. At a high level, I'm going to try to make my comments brief. At a high level, I am paying very close attention to what he says. I think the problem for me, here's the way I'm going to put it. I'm going to interject this in the hopes that other people adopt more of this pragmatic approach to evaluating politicians. People bring up all the time with people like Ron DeSantis and Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene and others that they can be bombastic, that they say all these things, that they either are inflaming or that they sound really good. I'm one of those people that routinely is able to tune all of that out. And I regularly, people are amazed that I don't know about some tweet or some post or some stump speech. The problem that I run into with Vivek Ramaswamy is I don't have anything to actually go on. So there are these speeches, some of which sound very compelling, and they sound like a Ron DeSantis. But I'm running into major problems because I don't see anything that we can actually hang our hat on as far as what to really expect as far as action. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that it's the reason why when Vivek Ramaswamy comes up, I have a difficult time either jumping in or not, or expressing a political viewpoint that is tangible and more viable than that. I was hoping early on that other people would get in the race and it would really become something where we could see different politicians or different potential new governors. That hasn't happened. So,
well, you had the chance. You had the chance there with Tim Ryan, but Tim Ryan just kind of he jumped ship, and I think because he realized how much money Vivek has and how much it would cost him, and then he would have a costly primary and everything. Yeah. So it's really just Amy Acton and him, and I guess Heather Hill is in there as well. But here's the problem when you're dealing with somebody who has never run for office or is not a politician. You know, we always say we want the outsider. We want the outsider. That's great, but the problem with the outsider is we have no history of what he can do.
Well, actually, while you read that, I'm going to interject. I agree with you, and it's a valid statement in general. We want the outsider. We want somebody with some other experience to come in and fill a position, and let's get back to citizen legislature. I talk about that all the time. People with competence and professional skills in some capacity that have achieved things in life and are willing to set that aside for a brief period of time and assume public office. I love all of that. The thing with Vivek Ramaswamy that makes me concerned is everything that I try to drill into to look at his role, his actual positions and competence, I can't find anything. I find these glimpses of these things that are brief moments on a resume. But I mean, for Trump, we could see what Trump had done in his career, his successes, what he had built, and how he had behaved when things failed. We saw all of that. I don't have anything comparable to go into with Vivek Ramaswamy. So it's giving me a tremendous amount of pause in hoping that he proves to be good and valuable to the state of Ohio. So that, to me, I'm stuck in that position until I can find more. And I've spent the last year and a half drilling down into Strive Financial, the book that he wrote, his training at what is that? I'm drawing a blank on the name. Maybe Brian remembers.
Woke.
But he's gone into these training programs to train up corporate leadership, all
right.
Those sorts of things. Those are brief moments. Where's the thing that we can actually know that he spent some years of his life dedicated to building something? Where's the failure that he turned around and turned into a success?
He built a $1 billion industry, I guess, a $1 billion company or something. But that's
not true.
Well, okay, I don't want to make this all about. We got to get our guest on here. I want to get our guest on here and bring her on. We could talk about Ramaswamy later. Faith Andrews, the Badger News. How are you? tonight?
Truth Badger News, doing great. How about you guys?
Good to see you and stuff. So I have a little bit of info, but these other guys might do a better job of introducing you. But I do have what I do with it. I know you're with Truth Badger News, and I also know that, you were with a clerk, Lorain County
Yes.
Clerk of
Nope.
Courts.
Lake County.
Lake County.
Lake.
Lake County.
Lake
Clerk
County,
of Court.
Lake County
Yep.
Clerk of Courts. I had this all down and I can't find it now, but that always
Well,
happens because I
I
have
can
too many
introduce
papers
myself.
everywhere. That's the problem.
I can
And
introduce myself if you want me to.
introduce yourself, but
All
make
right.
go ahead. Yeah, let's hear it.
Faith Andrews, Truth Badger News is my latest, but I've done several things. I always enjoy finding out from other people when they woke up, and I guess when they broke their programming. For me, it was 2008, and it was Obamacare. And then I spent the last 17 years trying to figure out who was running things, and because Congress wasn't working for us, I'm just researching into what is. And that culminated in a book that will be published sometime later this month. My research partner and I in Texas spent, like I said, a bunch of years putting it all together, mostly for our kids, but he passed away last year and I need to publish it for him and for the future. It tells you how we got where we got, and to me, if Trump truly is restoring the republic, we're going to need this to be able to reverse engineer ourselves back in. You got to know how we got there to find out if they're actually unwinding it and restoring the republic. I've worked for government as a subcontractor. I've worked for government as an employee. And as I mentioned earlier, I was also an elected official. So I bring a really interesting mix of just a perspective to people about how government really works. And
let me ask you now,
it's kind of upsetting. It really is. But I've known Brian Massey since 2018. We've been beating the crap out of local officials since then, and having a good time. Remember the leg lamp, that we gave Jerry Serino?
Yeah, the better flip house, yes.
The leg
Yeah, we
lamp.
gave him
The
a
leg
major
lamp.
award,
Okay.
award on that one.
Let me ask you a question here. So, what is it that's your background and stuff? I got that. Now, the Truth Badger News sounds like journalism, investigative journalism. So that's what that is, correct?
Yes, it is. And I want to focus on local, Lake County and Geauga, some crosses. Also state, the state of Ohio. I'm definitely got the pulse on what the heck is going on nationally. Again, just because of some of the research that I've done. And I'm comfy. I know people are going to get a little bit concerned about some things maybe as time goes on. There will be accountability. I totally believe it. It has to happen. But
well, let's do this. Let me move you into some of this precinct strategy, okay? Let's talk about that for a minute. So precinct strategy, I'll give a brief intro here. So it's a grassroots political tactic aimed at influencing party operations and elections by encouraging supporters to fill vacant precinct committee positions at the local level. These are volunteer positions that involve tasks like voter registration, get out the vote efforts, distributing campaign materials, participating in decision party leadership, candidate endorsements, platform development. So a lot of stuff like that. And it works from the bottom up. We're starting from the bottom level, moving this way. It is so crucial in politics. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
I think it is one of the few ways, and this property tax initiative as well, that the people can redress grievances, that they can actually step into their power. It's actually a little bit more than a volunteer position. It is an elected position. And many people, I give a presentation, I've given it a couple of different places. Many people most people don't want to raise their hand, but I've actually had some people raise their hand and say, how do we elect these, positions? It could be that there is a vacancy, and so nobody is running, which is why it's not even on the ballot. It could be that it's, so far down, people just will vote along party lines, and that's that. They are not really sure. I don't necessarily believe that they know the function of the Central Committee, how important it is in vetting true patriots that care about the people and are true public servants.
Now I got a question. I got a question for you right here, and that is, I know it's important. You know it's important, but when you try to when you look at the county parties in general, like I'm in Cuyahoga County, we got 600 open seats. We have 600 open precinct positions. So somewhere there's a disconnect, right? If it's so important, why do we go through county by county and we have so many open seats and stuff? What do you think? Why is that?
Well, I think it's, people don't know that it exists. The information isn't out there. And they just don't know. And I got to be honest with you, at least in Lake County, I think the leadership likes it that way. I don't know what else to say. Because
there is one thing that they do that's important is it's the committee people who will vote for the next chairman of the county.
The chairman,
So
you mean the party itself, you mean?
The party chairman, yeah.
Well, the Central Committee they vote for the chairman of the party. They vote for the leadership. Yes, the full Central Committee does that. Again, I mean, even the Central Committee, the folks that are in the Central Committee, they don't know their true role, and party leadership wants it that way. I mean, a candidate should be knocking down the door of the Central Committee members. To tell, it's our responsibility to vet. Do you know that we can't even, at least in Lake County, we don't even share emails. We can't even get the emails of other Central Committeemen. They do not want us talking to each other at all. Most everything happens at the executive committee level. There's very few full Central Committees meetings. There's one organizational meeting after each primary. And then they have to do full Central Committees, meetings to do certain things like appoint a treasurer, which they recently had to do, and appoint someone to the Board of Elections, which they recently had to do. And then they're going to have to meet again to appoint a commissioner for the third time in Lake County. So these are the times when it's really, really important that you have true patriots in the Central Committee and not people that are there just because it looks good on a resume or it's a great business group to belong to, or, right. They need a friend, they need something to do. I got into the Central Committee to make a difference, not to play games.
All right, hang on one second. I know you're not playing games out there, but a lot of people are. Brian, are you on this Central Committee?
No. Hello, Faith.
You are the
nice to see you.
Brian. Good to see you too.
I don't know where to start on this thing. Faith knows me, and I've got the people, elected officials in Lake County telling me, Brian, you're not a Republican. I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, no, you're not a Republican, you're a populist. And I said, well, I thought that's what the Republican Party was all about for the average person. But I guess not in Lake County. And we now unfortunately have to replace a commissioner because of the untimely passing of Commissioner Rich Regovich, and we certainly feel sorry for the loss of Commissioner Regovich and for his family. But it's already been decided, who's going to take his place. It's the elite in Lake County, the good old boys club. Whether it's both, Democrats and Republicans, they get together. So as far as I know that, Jonathan and Faith are all for this precinct committee, but I don't even know who my precinct committee person is. No one's ever contacted me. And the reason for that is the leaders in the Lake County Republican Party won't disseminate any information, just like as Faith says. They won't even give emails out of the other committee members, so you can't really talk. And that is so that they can control the information. So as much as I'd want to say I'll jump right in and I'll be a precinct committeeman, they would throw me out of my ear if Brian Massey said, well, I want to be on the Republican Central Committee. They just, they bring their pitchforks and torches.
Throw you out of there real quick. Well, I'll tell you something. I'm on the Central Committee, and I've never told anyone I was on the Central Committee. So I'm just as much to blame as everybody else. But I do want to say this. If you're in the chat and if you're on the Central Committee, let us know. If you're on the Central Committee, you'd like to know that. And if you have any other questions here.
Well, what do you feel about Central Committeemen being elected officials? Do you think that's a conflict of interest?
No. Because I think the Central Committee is such a low level. It's just so low level. You can do anything you want and still be a Central Committee person. That's my thoughts. But let me bring this guy in here also because, when I was checking on Grok, which is ChatGPT, just Elon Musk's version of it, they were talking when I typed in precinct strategy. You know what name came up? Dan Schultz. And I was trying to see where's Jonathan Broadbent on there, but Dan Schultz with precinct strategy and stuff. But anyhow, go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, Dan and I have been educating the nation for about 2.5 years now on precinct strategy. A few things. The first thing we're going to have to do if we're talking precinct strategy, I'm sorry, I will apologize in advance, our listening audience, but I need to break your brain for a moment. Most of what you've just heard, unfortunately, is incorrect. There's a lot of misunderstanding about the way that our form of government is supposed to work. We got here intentionally. In the late 1960s, we stopped teaching civics. Precinct strategy isn't some extraordinary new thing. And if you would like to hear from Dan Schultz, I can call him on his mobile right now and have him speak into the microphone. He'll admit, he'll tell you, and he does often, nationally on a big platform, he didn't invent this. He attached a name to basic American civics. It's civics. When we say of the people, by the people, and for the people, precinct strategy is just a fancy package that we put it into to try and re-educate the nation on the way this thing is supposed to work. And unfortunately, we have a lot of misunderstanding about where we are now. I heard Brian use the term leadership. First thing I want to encourage everybody to do is break that terrible habit. There is no leadership. It doesn't exist. It is a misnomer, it is misapplied, and it is intended to delude people into giving up their power. If you go into a Central Committee meeting, there is a chairperson who will typically hold a little gavel, and they will sit up there and say, okay, you speak next, and you speak next, and then after that, you speak. That person has exactly the same amount of power as everybody else in the room. I'm one of those people. I used precinct strategy coming up on 4 years ago. 22 of us in my county decided to run. We helped each other. We encouraged each other. 18 out of the 22 of us won, which gives my county a fighting chance. We are a big part of the reason, perhaps the reason, we've flipped our county. We now have new leadership. We have the things that we wanted on our wish list, and we're actually starting to accomplish conservative things. It's that reason that precinct committeeman is referred to as the most powerful political position in the world. It's more powerful than the U.S. government. It's more powerful than Nancy Pelosi, Donald Trump, or anyone else. Precinct strategy. I know that it sounds strange to hear me say that, but it's absolutely true, and I'll give you an example. If you decide you want to do something, if you decide that you want to ban chemical aeration spraying, or you want to ban electronic voting systems. If every county in the United States passed a resolution that they want something, and that comes from people like me. I've made resolutions, I've pitched them, and I've gotten them passed. I've gotten other counties to consider the same resolutions, and sometimes lots of counties, and sometimes even a whole state will demand something of the Republican Party. When that happens, I can tell you that whatever issue it is, closing the borders, boosting police, banning electronic voting machines, I don't care what the issue is. If every county in the United States passed a resolution saying that's what they demand, I can tell you that within 72 hours, Washington, D.C. will shut down and accomplish whatever it is we ask. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care what CNN says. I don't care what MSNBC says. We will have that thing. That's the reason that this system got broken 50 plus years ago, because the bad guys, the communists, whatever you want to call them, they know they can't accomplish their mission if we, the people, understand the power that we have.
Yeah,
When
well,
we use
but we have to
strategy,
understand
we
that,
invert the triangle and stop that top-down mentality, like DC dictating and Columbus dictating.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to bring Faith in here. If we have any questions for Faith, because she's our guest here tonight, give us your understanding then, Faith, of the whole precinct strategy, the importance of it, what we should be doing. What would you say to all that?
Well, I completely agree with everything Jonathan just said. The people need to step into their power. One of the first things, I mean, it's a quick, easy way. Well, I don't know how easy it is because it's still elections. It is an elected position, but it's an easy way to flip your county, to take control of the Central Committee for the good guys instead of the rhinos, instead of the uniparty. Look for vacant seats. Try to find patriots. Do the vetting of the individuals so that they're there and they know what their job is, and they're not there for the wrong reason. Bylaws, things need to be, the biggest issue I have, the two-tier system of justice starts in Lake County. When you've got Jerry Serino, a sitting commissioner at the time, Republican, endorsing a Democrat, he should have been censored for that. Other people that were Central Committeemen that were endorsing Democrats over Republicans that were running for office here in Lake County. Nothing ever happens. The one guy they decided to finally censor was Jim Walsh, who, I guess he was just, at the wrong time or something. I don't know. Maybe they got the word that it was okay to censure him. He was a pain in the patootie to a lot of people. Willoughby Hills, that whole disaster. So they censured this guy for doing it, supporting his boss, who was a Democrat, against me, the Republican. So that was out of the gate. Me as a clerk of courts, the party is censuring my IT guy. And he ended up losing the next election. So he's no longer on the Central Committee. But my point was, why censor this guy when you had a guy like Jerry Serino endorsing a Democrat for a township trustee position that he doesn't even live in? So if they don't apply the bylaws and censure and reprimand or everything across the board, at the lower level, and it's pay to play,
Let me ask you this.
At the higher level, and how in the heck do you get past the fact that it now costs $300,000 to buy a commissioner seat? If you have control of the Central Committee, that doesn't matter.
Okay, let's do it this way. Yeah, that's true. If the Central Committee were running the way it's supposed to run, can you tell us what is the role and how does a person become a committee person and stuff like that? Because there's probably people listening who have no clue what it is.
Okay, so If you want to take a look at the statute, the Ohio Revised Code 3517.03 is the controlling statute. It's only a page and a half long. It's the governing body of these political parties. Each one of these precincts, Ohio is divided into multiple precincts, and there's 163 in Lake County, about 1,000 voters per precinct in Lake County. So each precinct has an elected official, a central committeeman. And those voters are their constituents. That's who we are working for. And we're supposed to be interacting with those voters in our precincts to talk to them about who we think, again, for endorsements and things of that nature. Also, issues come up. We have the ability to discuss these things and should be discussing these things with our constituents to find out what they think. We should be caucusing within our districts, and there are 21 districts in Lake County. So each one of those districts has several precincts in it, and those folks then should be coming together. Again, we should be caucusing with our other central committee members, especially those within our district, so that we can, basically do the will of the people. And our job, really, this is what these people are counting on us to do, is to vet true, not just get Republicans elected. We need to get good Republicans elected. We need to get MAGA people elected. America first, folks, Lake County first, or whatever county you're in, Ohio first. We need true public servants. And I heard you guys talking a little bit about Ramaswamy at the beginning. Yeah, he's a businessman. I'm tired of the same people coming up through the political system. They're already comped by the time they get up there. We need the outsiders. So, and I feel your pain, Jonathan, on some of that kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of what I go on is what he said when he was running for president. He was out there telling the truth, and he was saying things that a lot of other people wouldn't want to say. So what you need to do is you need to see if your precinct is vacant first. And even if it isn't, have you heard from your precinct committeemen at all?
Probably not. If they're anything like me, they've never heard. Nobody knows.
I mean, not even a letter.
I've never sent a letter or anything. I
usually do before every election. I send out a letter to every one of my constituents, and it's a personal handwritten letter. Well, it's typed, but I sign it, and I send it out to everybody to let them know, my personal feelings about things. And I'll send a slate card, if there are people on there that I think should, deserve the endorsement. But I mean, even the endorsements, most of them are done at the executive committee level. I think every endorsement should be done at the full central committee level. So you run for office, and it's in the primary, and there are 2-year terms, I believe. 2-year terms. Some of them can be 4. That depends. But in Lake, it's 2. And your responsibilities, like I said, really are to get to the bottom of who the best candidates are. And I'm here to tell you some of them that are being endorsed, and some of them that, we don't even have. People need to be primaried. I think some people do need to be primaried. So there's
nothing wrong with a primary. That's the American way, so to speak. That is the American way. I'm going to get Jonathan back in here.
Primary. Go ahead. Yeah, I've commented. If you find me on X, you'll see me. I've made this comment probably 10,000 times. There's only one way to primary. One. So all this talk about back when Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney and all those ridiculous rhinos were supposed to pretend like they were Republican, that was ridiculous. There's one way to primary, and that's control the slate card. Unfortunately, we have the vast majority of Americans don't pay attention to politics. So whatever the name is that shows up that's endorsed in your county, so if it's a Lake County commissioner or if it's a re-election of somebody, in that midterm election. Those are typically low turnout. Very few people actually go to vote. Those who do typically pay attention to that endorsement. That slate card is gold. That's why, unfortunately, in this Rhino run system, we have the overwhelming, something like 99% of these horrible bad guys who do horrendous things. They can vote in line with the Democrats 100% of the time and be caught cheating, robbing, and stealing and abusing the system. As soon as the re-election shows up, if their name's on the slate card, the chances are overwhelming that they're going to get reelected. That's where precinct strategy comes in. It's another advantage of precinct strategy.
Right.
If you control that slate card, that's a whole different ballgame, because when that person goes to rerun and you replace their name with somebody that you vet who is a better candidate for that position, who might actually put the American voter ahead, the American citizen ahead of some political ambition or their own personal wealth gathering, as soon as you control that slate card, then you can primary. Until then, it's all just talk. All this fluff, you see it all over X. Everyone's like, hey, we should primary that person.
Yeah.
What is it exactly you think you mean by primary? What you mean by primary is find a better, worthwhile opponent to run against them and then get them elected. Try and find somebody you can get elected who doesn't
Right.
have an endorsement.
Well, and then again, as long as you can control the slate card, as long as you don't do, there's no shenanigans. There's an official slate card, and then there was multiple fake slate cards. What do you do about that? And that happened in Lake. There was like 3 fake slate cards that came out in the last primary. And there was an official one, and they had people at the polls handing out the fake slate cards with the candidates that were not endorsed on it. So, again, it's like there's so much, there's so much shenanigans, and the poor people. I mean, sometimes it's hard to say, but sometimes I wonder if voting even matters anymore.
Well, there's so many uninformed voters. That's the problem. The voters are completely uninformed. And I do want to say one thing. I'll send it to you, Jonathan, here for 1 second. But I just want to say one thing. We're gonna be talking about data centers here probably in about 5 minutes or so. So we'll be switching topics, and I don't mean to cut anybody short, but we can always have you on again, Faith. But we're not done yet. But I'm just saying we're gonna probably be wrapping this up here in about 5 minutes or so. But I'd like to have you on again sometime soon. We could talk about a lot of different other topics if you're
absolutely
willing to do that. But go ahead, quick comment, Jonathan, to her if you could.
Yeah. Well, my comment goes out to the public. There's a website to start off with. Actually, I'm going to give you 2 websites. For Ohio, we have a dedicated website. It's ohioprecinctstrategy.org. ohioprecinctstrategy.org. The mission and intention of that, I don't run it, I know the people who do. The intention is to get focused information on Ohio's 88 counties and get better people into those positions of power. Because right now, what we have is an inverted triangle, or inverted pyramid, rather. We've that sort of top-down, kiss the ring mentality. We need to flip that so that we, the people, have the power in government again. Precinct strategy does that. That's what it's there for. And it is basically, it's just civics coming back again. There's also a national precinctstrategy.com. My friend Dan Schultz runs that. If you want to come and join us, find my profile or Dan's every Tuesday afternoon at 2 and Friday evenings at 9 p.m. We host an X Space. I ran last Fridays. Dan and I will gladly meet you wherever you are. If you're hearing this for the first time and are wondering, what does that mean, that there are empty seats? No worries. That was me about 5 years ago. Well, it might be a little bit more than 5. But I jumped in, and I'm really glad I did. I quickly came to understand the power and importance of this. We can get you ramped up, even if you don't take an active role. At least inform yourself about the importance of that person who should be representing your interests, your access to the Republican Party. If you don't know who they are, we're going to give you the information to figure out who they are, if the seat is vacant, and if they are a good person, if you find somebody's there.
The other thing I would say, too, is talk to your county chairperson and find out what precincts are open. If you're unfamiliar with it, that's the first thing I would suggest. Get a hold of your county chairman for the Republican Party and then work through them. So, Faith, what do you have to say in closing? Like I said, we'll have you on again. I know that you do a lot of investigative reporting and stuff. We got to hear about some of that stuff too. But
Okay.
if you had to wrap up the whole precinct thing, like what would you say?
Well, I would say to people, I would say what you can do, as Jonathan has mentioned, see if there's vacant, but attend a central committee meeting. I would say not only reach out to your chairperson, but actually find out when central committee meetings, executive committee meetings are. In Lake County, the first Monday of or the last Monday of every month at 7 at the headquarters. And then again, you can find out where your who the central committeeman is by going out to the GOP voter rolls and looking your name up, and it'll tell you who your central committeeman is and give you a mailing address. I'd request an in-person meeting with your central committeeman if one exists. I'd request a copy of their current bylaws. And then I would also request a copy of the local party platform, as well as get a copy of the state platform. And then request the meeting minutes for 2 years. And then again, consider running for a vacancy in your precinct or to replace an ineffective member. Demand accountability of your party central committee to get constitutional America First public servants elected. Make them accountable. Make sure that they, keep the promises they make during election season. And as part of that, there should be reprimand built in for those who do not. And then they don't get endorsed again. How can you identify an ineffective deep state uniparty member? How involved are they? What is their voting record, especially if there's, if they're doing a roll call vote, check that out. And have you ever received a call or letter from them? As Mr. Massey says, he doesn't even know who his precinct committeeman is. And some other questions, and I sort of brought this up. Should elected officials or spouses of elected officials serve as central committeemen? I think at some point there can be a conflict of interest, especially if you're part of any kind of decision making at a higher level of who gets money. If you're the district voting member, you're voting to endorse yourself. If you are a good guy and ethical or gal and refrain from that, then your district isn't represented. Now, you could get somebody else to come in and do the voting, but I mean, this is where the conflict of interest kind of comes into play, I think. And maybe I think should just be a little bit more above board. And then, like I said, just that this is the easiest way, a peaceful way to get back to the way things used to be at the bottom, by the people, for the people. And it starts right there. Everything starts right there.
Yeah. From the bottom up, yep, the grassroots.
Yep.
And then work your way this way instead of the big wigs at the top making all the decisions, which is
right.
What we have too often with politics. Yeah, this is grassroots.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you
and
very
I'll be happy
much.
to come on any other time.
Yeah, we'll have to have you on. We will have you on.
Thanks, Faith.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Faith.
God bless you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, we'll go to our next guest, which Melissa Wade. Correct? Melissa
correct.
Wade. How are you tonight? It's good to
I'm
see
very
you.
well. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. We're going to talk about the data centers and stuff, and I really thought that this was an interesting topic. Maybe not originally, But as I started digging into stuff, and then you sent some information over, and I started reading it, it's like, yeah, we've got to talk about this stuff because this is big in Ohio. And again, I would say if you're in the chat about this as well, because this is big stuff. I didn't realize how big it was, but let me do this here. You're going to have to, and I apologize, but you're going to have to give a little intro to yourself, because I know we talked a little bit on the phone and stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't even know where you're located. Where are you from?
I'm actually in Trumbull County.
Okay.
I'm just outside of Youngstown. I'm a couple
Okay.
miles north of
Yeah,
Youngstown.
Yeah. Gotcha. Thought so. Okay. And you're just like an activist. You're an activist who's interested in data centers.
I'm on Central and Executive Committee in Trumbull County as well.
Okay. Excellent. So I should have threw you on. You could have talked a little bit about the precinct strategy and stuff. All right.
Yeah, I had so much to comment because I'm getting absolutely nowhere. It's a good old boys system, and it's really unfortunate.
Well, that's a common theme that we hear from everybody. It's just it's a good old boys system, and that's why it's so important. So you start from the ground level, the grassroots level, and you can work your way up and get the people in there that you want. But let's talk about these data centers. So here's some. The Ohio's data center, they're flocking to Ohio, which we're like the fifth highest state with data centers, which is kind of amazing. And we have this sales tax exemption. And let me tell you what that is about. So it's a deeply flawed giveaway that hands partial or full exemptions from state sales and use taxes to tech behemoths like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta. So they're paying no sales tax on any of this equipment. For instance, servers, cooling systems, generators, any construction materials. Okay, so we're losing the tax money for all of that stuff, but that's to pull them in. That's to get them here. So my thinking was, well, there has to be a balancing act here. So we're giving them that. We're also saying they don't have to pay any property taxes. And some of these facilities are just mind-boggling how big they are. And they're all, we say they're data centers, but so much of it is dependent upon AI, the new AI technology. So it all sounds really cool that Ohio is going to be a leading push in the AI, which is the future, which is the present, actually. But the problem I have here is what are we getting from them? And it seems like these data centers have very few people that work at them. The average data center only has about 50 people, which is nothing. I mean, 50 people, you got that at McDonald's and stuff. So when you were doing your research, was that some of the stuff you came up with, or?
Yeah, and the more I dig in, there's really there's no good here. The more I dig in, the more I'm just absolutely horrified. This is part of the AI rollout that Trump has just talked about all over the TV. He had Larry Ellison on second day of his administration talking about mRNA vaccines and the AI rollout and the $500 billion he's going to put into it. These tech giants are just coming in, buying up all of our land. Land that could be put to better use, getting tax breaks while we're getting taxed to death. Young people cannot even afford to buy homes anymore. This is kind of akin to how BlackRock's buying up all the homes. We've got AI data centers coming and buying up all of our land, farmland, residential. They don't care. They're buying it up everywhere. It's coming to everybody's backyard.
That's a problem, buying up all that property, and then we don't get any property tax revenue from them. And the sales tax, we're losing that. And then I was trying to look into what is it that we're getting from them? What kind of revenue stream? And it doesn't seem like there's any kind of digital tax on this. So it's a little bit of a mystery. I also, before I go any further, I think we have another guest that joined us. George, are you out there? George Satari?
Yeah, Joe, can you hear me?
I hear you. So you're just on phone with no video, correct?
No, I'm on a tablet, but my camera doesn't work the best, so
Yeah.
I don't look the best anyhow either. So you'll have to just go with my melodious voice over here.
Which is music to our ears. I know. Okay. Yeah, it's good to have you on, George.
Thanks,
appreciate
Joe.
it.
Thanks, Joe. Sorry I was running late. It was a rough weekend. I had meetings and relatives and friends and clients from in and out of town, and got to see my 4 beautiful grandchildren under 3 this weekend over the Thanksgiving. So it was a great joy. Had some friends come in, had some clients. So I thought the podcast started at 8, so my apologies. I'll make it up to you another time as well.
Yeah, no problem. This is kind of a laid-back format. I'm just glad you were able to join us. So we have Melissa Wade with us here tonight, and the conversation is all about these data centers in Ohio and how big they are. I mean, how much electricity they're using, the water consumption, the free property taxes, no sales tax, all these incentives to get them here. But it's coming with a price for Ohio, and I'm wondering, is this just to accommodate big tech, or is it going to benefit the everyday citizen? That's kind of a problem we have here.
Joe, I have to speak on that because Vivek Ramaswamy has been very vocal about wanting to turn the Ohio River Valley into the next Silicon Valley. And so, I think he's a Trojan horse for this agenda. This is all very anti-privacy, anti-freedom. I mean,
well, if Vivek, if he is big tech and he gets in there as governor, then he's going to be pushing for all this stuff. I gotta see if Brian has a question on it. What's your thoughts, Brian?
Well, I would ask the politician, what is in it for the average citizen? I mean, if they're not going to bring jobs in, are they going to share their profits with us, or so why do we need data centers? I don't understand that.
It's the oligarchy, Brian. I mean, this is what the oligarchy is pushing for. This is people like Mark Zuckerberg and our friend Elon Musk. I mean, this is just all about this giant AI push and any jobs they're going to bring in. The net loss of jobs is going to be exponentially more than any 50 jobs, whatever they might bring into your neighborhood.
So the whole thing could destroy Ohio.
Yes.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that perspective either, but well, AI in general is going to be taking a lot of jobs. It's just going to. But as far as making money off of these facilities, taxing the digital data. Okay, so I looked into it. Right now, there is no law in Ohio that calls for taxing digital data output from the data centers. Bits or data flows processed and transmitted by facilities operated by Amazon, Google, or these AI firms, these big data centers. So right now, the politicians, there's no legislative way of extracting some revenue from these. So they're just big companies that are going to make billions of dollars. And how are we benefiting here in Ohio? Let me just get George. Did you have a thought on that? I want to get you in here since.
Well, I'm less concerned about the revenue they may or may not generate than the privacy issue of AI and all the different ancillary headaches. Like, we know President Trump is playing footsie with Palantir, and again, as was mentioned, we have Zuckerberg and all these other people. None of these people are our friends, and creating 50 jobs isn't worth it. Let's say they're paid $100,000 a year. That's $5 million a year. Even if there's a 2% city tax rate, that's $100,000 a year, which is peanuts. Or even if they have digital output, they have something called in Ohio called the gross revenue tax, long as the revenues are generated within the state of Ohio. But with digital information and all that, we really don't know where the sales are going to be located, Ohio or someplace in the Ethernet. There is the cat tax on that. But again, my bigger concern isn't the revenue, it's the privacy concern and setting up a social credit system similar to what we have in China. I mean, this is another footprint that leads us in that direction. So I just want to say I'm a Luddite myself. I'm still trying to stop the 12 from blinking on my VCR. So if somebody could help me with that, I'd really appreciate that.
So you're still using a VCR. That's amazing.
Absolutely. I got my old VCR, my video collection. What am I going to do with it?
Yeah,
have to have
right.
a VCR.
Right, exactly.
So
yeah,
I'm not, again, yeah, tech is nice, and I believe in, obviously, capital improvements and modernization. Obviously, I drive a car and have a cell phone and even, a refrigerator and all the conveniences of modern life, but I don't have my refrigerator tracking my every movement. Although I guess there are refrigerators now that could track how many items are missing from your refrigerator, and you need 2 quarts of milk and 6 eggs and a loaf of bread. So stuff like that to me is just so aggravating and annoying, and we've really gotten lazy, fat, happy, and stupid. So
yeah, I gotcha. Mm-hmm. All right, now Ohio is number 5 in data centers right now. We've got like about 180 of them, and
wow.
Most of them are centered.
It's over 200 now, Joe.
It's over 200 now. So they're
200,
sprouting up
and
like crazy.
They're building them at a rapid pace.
Yeah, at a very, very rapid pace. And I want to just mention this one data center. This will blow your mind, but it's in New Albany, Ohio, and it's going to be up and running next year, 2026. It'll be the world's largest. It'll be the world's largest.
Wow.
It is a 1 gigawatt data center, and this one has the amount of electricity it uses is equivalent to 850,000 homes.
Wow.
Okay, that's a lot of electricity. So we'll have the biggest one in Ohio next year, but it won't last long because in about 2 years, they're building one twice that size in Louisiana. And this is all AI. This is all AI. Kind of amazing. Jonathan, what's your thoughts on all this AI stuff?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do, I don't do this often, but this is a prime opportunity for me to plug a podcast that I do for Unwoke.academy. Unwoke.academy, you can see it at the bottom underneath my name on, I forget the date. This was last year. I had a couple of guests, including Odette Wilkins, on. The title of my episode 104 was Who Safeguards Us from Harmful Tech? Go back and watch that episode. It talks a lot about where we're going with technology and our utter lack of checking for safeguards on the implications of this technology. So I'm absolutely with George Satari and his comments about our privacy, and that's a fundamental critical concern that I have because I've been watching the growth and expansion of data mining. But along with that, there are health implications for the things that we are allowing to invade our lives. And there is concern that should go along with that. So just like we have at least the facade, at least the expectation that food and drugs are evaluated for their safetiness, their safety prior to consumption, we should have a reasonable expectation of evaluating technology. What you'll find in this teaser episode, 104 on Unwoke.academy, is that we don't. And often, as we're discovering now with the FDA, we have research that gets buried, that seems to imply, that seems to show harmful implications of this technology we're rolling out. So for all these reasons, I see no fiscal upside. I see no employment benefit. I see all sorts of potential consumption and use implications, like if these big facilities are gobbling up all our power, will we then as a state have rolling brownouts? Will the smart meters be used to scale back our ability to access power to heat our homes and cook food? It seems likely. We already know that the smart meters are designed exactly for that purpose. So will it become a highest bidder? The power goes to the highest bidder. If that's the case, then all this mega investment in these tech data centers, they're going to outbid us. They're going to have access not just to the property, but also to the power and utility and resources, like water. These are water hogs from everything we know. So for that laundry list, I know I just breezed through like 10 things on my checklist of horror. Those are reasons that I think we need to really seriously press the brakes on this rapid fire expansion of this technology. We need to pause and take a look at all these things. What's happening with our tax base for allowing these things? What's happening with the health implications, and what's happening with data mining? I think that the answer, and part of the reason it's probably rolling out so fast, is to try to blitzkrieg overwhelm our state before we have a chance to catch a breath, catch up, and really look at the implications of this stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
one
true,
of those
though.
who advocates we need to stop and look now.
Yeah, that's true, because it is a blitzkrieg. Now we got 200 data centers. You know, I was looking at some information. We had 180. Now we got 200. I mean, they're just sprouting up everywhere. But put that one chat up for a minute, Kent, would you? They require an enormous amount of water, and the noise they bring is horrible. Virginia is being inundated with these centers. Yeah, Virginia is like number 1 or number 2 on the list. They're ahead of us. What does this one say? The stories I've seen on data centers show people dislike living by them. They are loud. They raise electricity rates in the surrounding area. Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back to Melissa here. Melissa, what were some of the concerns? Because I know that you found this to be a problem. So what were your main concerns with these facilities?
So I'm getting a lot of pushback in my community. People are saying, oh, they don't use that much water. They have closed loop cooling systems. That's not true. And then I find out, when you try to get information, like do a FOIA request on the water usage and electricity usage, it's redacted. They and there's all these non-disclosure agreements when they're putting in a facility. It's all hush hush. It's all done in the dark, in the back rooms. Zero trust. I don't care if they're telling people that they have closed loop cooling systems and they're not really going to use a lot of water. The lack of transparency, I really don't care what they say at this point, and no.
Yeah, they do use a lot of water. I got something here I pulled off of the internet. Actually, I used AI to find out about AI. But in Marysville, Ohio, there's 2 facilities that consume 10% of the daily capacity of water for that city. And also a huge plant like the one we're going to have in New Albany that can use up to 5 million gallons of water a day. That's complete and utter craziness. Oh, so Brian, what do you think, Brian? There ain't gonna be any water pretty soon.
Well, no, what Article 1 of the Ohio Constitution, where remember all these representatives, senators, all the elected officials, swear an oath to follow the Constitution. I was going to bring up I was going to read you what the Article 1 of the Ohio Constitution says. It talks about the protection of private property, and again, make sure that the citizens of the state of Ohio are taken care of first and foremost. Obviously, our elected representatives are violating their oath of office with these data centers. And unless we get some new blood, down in the State House, and I'm not talking about the new blood being Vivek Ramaswamy, but we need to have someone that's looking out for the citizens first and foremost. That we've gone so far astray, it's unbelievable. It's going to take us quite a bit to change the mindset of our elected officials.
And Brian, these tax breaks have been going on since 2014. The whole thing in New Albany, that goes way back to, I think it was 2007 when this started. It was actually Les Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein that started buying up New Albany and putting these data centers and warehouses in that vicinity. They've pretty much taken over that town. So that's where it started. I mean, right there, do we want to follow in the footsteps of Les Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein? I don't think so.
I would say no.
Yeah, not good company there.
No.
But we have, all these big companies, these Amazon and Google and Meta, and they're buying up the farmland. They're the ones putting this AI in because it is the future. So let me ask George. Okay, go ahead, Brian.
No, I was going to say, well, why do they get to use our electrical grid? Bring in their if they want to use the water, at least bring in their own electricity. Don't use our water and use the electrical grid where we're back to candles and cooking food over an open fire.
But the problem with that, Brian, that kind of scares me a little bit is if, okay, so say they come in and say, yeah, we're gonna make our own electricity. Now, I saw something a couple days ago where Elon Musk in Memphis, I guess he's got 35 of these gigantic gas turbines, natural gas. I mean, even if they're making their own, these are our precious resources, our land, our electricity, our water. I think they can be put to better use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. They've got
to
use that natural gas, and they have to do fracking.
A lot of it.
Yeah, to get a lot of it too. And those natural gas facilities that you're talking about to generate their electricity, that also is they don't pay any sales tax on any of that.
Right.
So,
and it's very polluting too. They're very polluting.
So where let me get George in here. George, are you out there?
Yes, sir. Here I am.
What benefit are we going to get from these things from Ohio? What benefit do we get, do you think?
Well, it seems like we're not going to get jobs. We're not going to get taxes. We're going to get pollution and noise and everything else. So I don't know. Obviously, there has to be a broader agenda. Like I said, I think the broader agenda is to mire us down in some quagmire that's similar to the social credit system. And my question is, if Ohio has 200 of these, how many do we have nationwide, and who owns these? So nationwide, we probably have a couple thousand. Who are the majority owners of these data centers? And again, I'm sorry, I checked in later to the conversation, but what exactly does a data center do? Just collect data that I went surfing on my phone for toys for my grandkids so I could get some kind of feedback and say what toys I should buy. What exactly do they do in these data centers?
Yeah, first of all, it's AI. It's all for AI. Okay, and I don't know what they do, but they are so big, and they've got all these servers and all these cooling systems and generators. But the tech giants are Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, probably others like Facebook, you name it. But they're just mega
Grok
huge.
And X too. And to answer your question, George, there are 5,400 data centers in the United States right now, a little over 5,400.
So about 100 per state on average. And these data centers, again, being AI linked, obviously AI is the prison that they're building for us to be. Again, my concern is similar to the social credit system. If it were more benign, I'd probably have less of a problem. But no, this is the gilded cage that they're building for the citizenry, for us to become. Every movement of ours will be monitored and watched almost just about everything we do. And the interesting thing is, all of this is tied to electricity. All we need is not able to produce electricity or have a nice EMP courtesy of the Chinese, and all these servers will be nice, doormats and doorstops, because electricity is such a key to all of this, including my cell phone. It's a key to our whole society. So I think the electricity should be better allocated, first of all, for the health and welfare of the citizenry of the state of Ohio, and producing real wealth, such as cars and steel and refrigerators and different things. So I think, these definitely need a further investigation by somebody. But when you have Trump backing all of this Palantir and the different things that he's backing, it's going to be very difficult. We're going to need, like Brian says, a new blood in our state house.
Okay, question. I have a quick question myself here, and that is that the politicians, why are they so on board with this? Why are they pushing this so heavily? If, number one, we're not getting property taxes, we're not getting sales taxes, they're causing pollution, they're using all this water, all this electricity, which the grid is going to go crazy. It's going to explode. People are not going to be able to get electricity. The common citizens are not going to be able to get the electricity they need at the rate this is going. They're not helping with the fire, the police, the schools, because the property taxes that they should be paying, they're not paying. The sales tax, again, 50 people at some of these facilities. Maybe the biggest one in New Albany might have 200 or 300 people. That's nothing, okay? It's not like a steel mill, which is going to employ 5,000 people, and you could create an entire city around it. So I don't know if anybody in the chat or anybody here has a reasoning as to why our legislature is so on board with this.
So they tried to take some of these tax breaks off of the data centers for the 2025 budget, and I guess DeWine vetoed that. I will answer your question, and I'm right on board with everything George is saying. They do not care about us. They're encouraging us to build our own prison. That this is about the oligarchs and control, period.
Wow.
I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat this, and they've got people so addicted to this tech, and some of this is data storage, and I get a lot of pushback. Well, like, you're using your phone and we're talking on Facebook, right? So therefore we should just be accepting this tech takeover. You're a hypocrite. And it's just like, but we do not have to accept where this is going. We have 5,400 data centers. China has 450, and that's a high estimate.
All right, I'm going to go around one last time here. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, a question for Melissa. I had read that some of these data centers are for Bitcoin manufacturing, and those facilities are extremely noisy. Is there any truth to that?
From what I gather, yes, that's true. That I guess they're the noisiest of them. And also, this push for digital currency, that's the other agenda that comes with this. And I almost feel like they're creating a bubble with this, and they're going to crash the economics. It's going to crash, and then they're going to say, we need to fix this and bring in a digital currency. So I think that's also part of the agenda. I think we need to go back to a tangible currency, a gold-backed currency. I don't like any of this. It's getting more and more not based in reality. And I think that's a recipe for disaster. And I also want to say, before we stop, we need tax breaks for small businesses, property owners, and farmers, small family farmers who are going to do right by the land and not, do this industrial farming. Those are the tax breaks that we need, and we cannot accept this. This is unacceptable.
All right, Jonathan, you got a final thought on it?
I do. There's an important concept everyone should know about. It's called peer-reviewed. If a doctor or pharmacist or somebody in medicine writes something or comes up with a concept, it's always peer-reviewed to make sure that they're not just an outlier. They haven't thought of something or created something that's not actually true or misses the marker. lacks credibility. In this conversation, in my mind, everything that I want to say has just been peer reviewed. Every time I write a note, one of our guests on here, and I swear to you, I'm swearing to you, my audience, I actually didn't know Melissa Wade was going to be a guest tonight. I only found out moments before we went live that George Satari was going to join us. But everything they've said has been something I wrote down, like, oh, I need to make sure to bring up centralized banking digital currency, for instance. I need to make sure to bring up the fact that we're not actually receiving tax revenue. So I guess that's kind of my complicated way of saying, I don't know that I have much to add here, except that these are great minds thinking alike that see the same problems the same way and have exactly the same concerns. That's peer review in action on live TV. I hope that many of you in the audience listen to this, share it, get the message out, and fight back against these things. It's awful, and we shouldn't want it in Ohio. At least work with us, work with the people around you to fight, to try and at least tap the brakes and look at the implications of these things that we're doing.
This whole AI stuff is just going to just explode. It's going to get so huge that it's it's unbelievable. But let me read this chat real quick. It says, even if they generate their own electricity, who will have the money to outbid citizens for the natural resources to produce their electric?
Bingo.
The states discussed are in one energy market.
And they're outbidding on the land too. They're outbidding everybody. They're always the highest bidder on the land, and they're getting a hold of it. And we need affordable housing. We don't need data centers on this land.
We need
and farms.
Yeah, we need
and farms.
Hey, listen to this real quick, and then I'm going to go to George. It says that now this is in Louisiana, where they're starting to build the one that will be the world's biggest. We're going to have the world's biggest next year, the 1 gigabyte. Louisiana is going to have a 2 gigabytes. So it's going to be twice the size, okay? But here's some of the complaints. They say that traffic has tripled on local roads, leading to long truck lines, noise shaking nearby schools, dust infiltration into homes, rust-colored water, frequent power outages, and residents report safety fears, especially near Holly Ridge Elementary, where the playground was closed due to risks. And they say they get no communication from Meta. And they feel that the project is prioritizing progress over the community well-being. And Meta is a $100 billion push into the AI infrastructure. $100 billion. That's what they're investing into it. So it's amazing stuff. But we go to George. George, you have any final thoughts on the topic? And
yeah, I just want to say, Jonathan, it's not that great minds think alike. I had my AI reverse engineer your camera, and I was reading all your notes. So that's
well. If AI, I got a question for you. If AI is going to be spying on everybody, then who is it that's watching the AI?
Government.
Just the government?
The government and the tech oligarchs are working together clearly. I mean, Trump has had Zuckerberg and, Bill Gates. All of a sudden now climate change isn't the thing anymore because the agenda's changed. So the talking points, the narrative has changed. So now, it's not climate change anymore because now they know that they need to build, God knows how many power plants or whatever to feed these things. So that's who's doing this.
Climate change is becoming a boring subject for them.
Joe, my final thought and question is, Melissa, do you have a website or a map? Because when you say there's 200 data centers in Ohio, I thought maybe there's 5 or 10, and we're going to have 10 or 20 in the near future. But 200, do you have a map indicating where these are located?
I mean, you can find stuff online, and I do want to say that when I was doing my research, I did look at the AI overview. And I noticed that it gives different answers sometimes depending on what you put into the search, like how you word it. So I don't know how much you can trust all that, but you can get information online about how many data centers there are, and I do believe there is a map. I do recall seeing a map.
You know, I
Yeah,
plugged
and-
it. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, and again, besides creating Bitcoin and AI and all that, what exactly? Why do they call them data centers? Why don't they call them AI facilities or Bitcoin creation centers? What data exactly are they collecting on the citizenry? And at what point will all these 5,400 centers aggregate all their data into a master conglomeration? I'm looking at going to Europe next year, and I was talking to my client there, and he said, "Yeah, you're going to need a visa to go to Germany, and then when you check in, they will scan your retina and your facial recognition software, and that'll go into a database." Is this the kind of data that the data centers are collecting? So
Yes.
it would link in similar to a Chinese social credit system where you're crossing the street and cameras can pick up your facial recognition, similar to when they supposedly caught the January 6th bomber at the Republican headquarters. It monitored and measured the person's gait, the bend in the knee, the size of the steps, the size of the shoe, the way the shoulders move when you walk. This is some scary stuff. I mean, it's good if they catch this person, but they can do it without these kind of fancy gadgets. It's called hard work and getting off our butts and not getting too comfortable with technology that will ultimately enslave us.
100%, George. I'm on board with everything you just said, and it's all true. Yeah, they're collecting everything, where we go, what we say online. I don't know if y'all are aware that people are getting arrested over in the UK for what they're posting online.
Right.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
free speech.
I've
Free
been
speech
thrown in
is a
YouTube
joke.
jail a couple of times.
Mhm.
I've been
I've
thrown
been
in
censored
YouTube jail.
and
They
shadow
arrested.
banned and yeah, all of it. Yes.
Yeah, Joe,
All
our
right.
show Monday Night Roundtable has been put into Facebook prison as well as banned from YouTube because we're promoting the 2000 Mules video. So again, just to let the audience know, we do have Monday Night Roundtable
Yeah.
on WHKW 1220 AM Monday nights from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Usually call in and guests and all kind of similar topics to like what we're talking about today. Also, Monday Night Roundtable and Ohio Political News are sponsoring the town hall. I don't know if you talked about that in the beginning.
No, go ahead. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yep.
Yeah, next Monday we have the town hall forum with Commissioner Plechnik, Tom Zawistowski from We the People Convention, our beloved and dear Brian Massey, answering and talking about the repeal of the real estate taxes through a constitutional amendment. This is at next Monday. Doors open at 5, meeting starts at 6, and this is at the Thirsty Cowboy in beautiful Medina, Ohio, at the intersection of I-71 and Route 218. It's a little bit east of the intersection on the north side of Route 18 and the Antique Plaza. It's the Thirsty Cowboy. And again, we hope to have a good audience. We hope to live stream it. And, one final point that I like to make that I don't think is emphasized enough, if we could get rid of the real estate taxes, if you apply those payments to your mortgage, a 30-year mortgage becomes an 18-year mortgage. If you apply an extra payment a year, work harder, get a gift from your parents or grandparents, and if you could apply an extra payment once a year, your 18-year mortgage will go down to 10 years. So could you imagine owning and paying off a house in 10 years?
10 years,
Now,
wow.
that is freedom. And again, I'll have to run the numbers exactly on a spreadsheet, but this is my rough estimate. So
Well,
to get rid of,
it's freedom, though, George, as long as you don't have that property tax, right? Because then you're just
Right.
renting it forever and ever and ever.
right.
And that's what we want to
you
talk
imagine
about.
it?
That's what we want to
Yeah,
talk
if you-
about a week from tomorrow, Monday, December
Monday.
8th,
Yes.
at the
Yes.
Thirsty Cowboy.
Yes, sir.
We got to be out there. Well, I'm going to say, again, thank you, Melissa, for bringing up that topic and everything. And I really appreciated it because
Thank
I
you,
was not
Melissa.
looking into it at all. And I thought, this is going to be boring. It isn't boring. This is like what is clobbering us over the head, and we need to wake up. And so,
And when it comes to your neighborhood, that's when you start going, yeah, what's going on now? All of a sudden they're trying to put in like 3 now in little old Trumbull County over here. And I did want to say, I wanted to make sure that this gets out, that I did reach out to Lake to River, who is behind the project that they're planning in my town, and the Trumbull County Planning Commission, and they ignored me. So that's telling me that the fix is in. They don't want to hear what we have. They don't want to hear what we have to say in our suggestions about what happens in our own towns where we live.
yeah, being
And
ignored.
I want to give
yep.
people need to have the courage to step up and speak out. I mean, I know it's nerve-wracking and nobody wants to do it, but we've got to speak out or we're done.
Yeah,
The
and
best way to do that is organize.
Yeah.
organize and start talking about it, because I didn't even know about this until tonight, to be honest with you. I started researching it tonight, and it's like, wow, this is very...
Thank you for doing that, Joe. I appreciate that you took the time and gave me this platform to speak out on this. I appreciate it more than
thank you. Thanks for being such a great guest. Well, we're going to wrap it up tonight. If anybody has any parting words, if not, forever hold your peace. All right, you guys take care, okay?
All right, then. Thank you.
very much.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone. Good
Thanks,
night.
everyone. God
Bye,
bless.
everyone. Thank you.